Good afternoon. I hope you're enjoying your lunch or have done so already. I'm Andrew Vermesh, and this second bite-sized module is about being understood. You can find the recording of Module 1 on BrightTalk. Search for KT if you missed it. So we should be live now. If you have any trouble with your screen, please use the buttons to ask for some help, and you should now be seeing the presentation. So let's go straight into it from now. So a couple of words about Kepner-Tregoe. If you haven't met us before, over the last 62 years, our clients have saved literally hundreds of millions using the methods you're about to hear. And millions of people like you have found, importantly, ways to make the whole process of problem solving more satisfying personally. And I think that's, for me, the most important thing about all of this. So here are the modules for this week, and you should be able to see all of these. We've got 8 modules, well, not this week, for this month rather. We've got 8 modules, starting last time with problems come in different shapes, and this one is about sharing concerns effectively. I hope you'll find something useful in each one, but of course there's no need to attend them all, just the ones that you like. On a personal level, I found my forever home with these methods. I've found easier fixing of my cars, boats, washing machines, and certainly reduced my stress levels using these kinds of things and these ideas over the last 25 years. Good. So let's get into the topic for today, and that's understanding the big picture, and particularly how to make yourself understood and understand others. And we'll be going through a number of topics in this area. The first being list and then explain, and how to understand the topic under question and dealing with non sequiturs. There's an exercise for you, as there was last time. Where are we going with this? And help for adding clarity to meetings and messages in general. And really, this is all about how to share views in a way that's really productive for you and your colleagues. Now, when we miss the big picture, sometimes efforts can be wasted. The panic we've seen in some government and other organizations lately may have contributed a great deal to the impact of the current pandemic. And on a smaller scale, how does a failure to get a shared understanding of a situation affect your works? So let's have a vote here that you can have a go at. How well were you or your team able to handle a difficult recent problem? Please vote now between the choices here. You had everything clarified at the start, focus maintained clear all the way through the problem, or you actually thought you would have done something quite different if you had known what you now know. Oh my goodness, 100% for one option. That's kind of quite clear. And sometimes those things are absolutely unknowable. Donald Rumsfeld's unknown unknowns, and there's nothing we can do about that. But sometimes we look back and think, oh my goodness, we really should have known that. We really should have asked that. We should have communicated that, and we would have made some different choices along the way. And I think it's important to see how we can usefully do that. So let's get right into it. It's eased to a 72-27 balance. That's a bit more hopeful. Let's stop that voting now and move forward. Sometimes the way forward is absolutely clear. We all make lists of the things that we have to do and work diligently through them until something happens. At that point, we have a choice. We can continue undisturbed or adjust our plan and deal with a new challenge. Sometimes that judgment is really easy, and sometimes it really isn't. Often it's confusing because the things that people bring us are quite ill-explained. So examples might be things like, oh God, we need to sort out Citrix. That's for you IT folks on the call. And then for the manufacturing folks, another example. There's another batch failure on line 12. Okay. And another example, the worst one of all. I think we may have a problem. And, you know, alerting colleagues to a problem without saying what it is, well, perhaps that's not just so very kind. So we do need to think a little bit about that. On the way to solutions, we really do need some clarity, and getting an overview can be hard. So a few things that are going to be important for you. First of all, what exactly is the challenge? Second, how does it affect us and the company? Third, where does it fit in the big picture? Too often I've found myself completing lots of work only to find that it really didn't make much difference. Now, of course, we will all have some relatively trivial tasks every day, but equally I find myself rejecting many requests because really those issues don't matter. Not to me, not to the team, or not even to the person making the request. They've just been caught up with a sense of urgency without necessarily considering the big picture. So how do we avoid this? Obviously, we have to ask for some explanation, and there's a way to do that that millions of people have found useful. So, seek first to understand. And there are two vital questions around this. The first of those is, regarding this situation, the topic under discussion, what concerns do you have? And the next vital question is, what else? Those of you who know KT know that that's really one of our favorite questions. Just two words. What else? What else should we be talking about? What else should be worried about? What else should be considered? And the important thing in this context is listening without interruption and turning off your internal talk. You know, in old-fashioned communication, those of you who are sailors know about this, ship's radio, walkie-talkies, we were forced to listen until the other person finished and said, over. In person, of course, we can interrupt, but we may lose the best bits if we do. And so listen and write and review. Is that what the person really said to me? Now, listening is important, but it's also important to raise issues clearly if you're the one doing the talking. Three things that can help you here. First of all, one at a time. Don't put in a whole load of stuff all together. It's really difficult for people to follow you if you overshare, if you splurge lots of information onto them all at once. Avoid over-explanation. And in that context, try and think about something called the 10-second rule. If you're speaking for I'm speaking for longer than 10 seconds, this is very bad. If you speak for longer than 10 seconds, it may be difficult for people to carry on concentrating on what you have to say. So when you want to raise an issue, it's different when you're explaining the context and the detail, but when you want to raise an issue, try and keep it crisp like these examples. And stop. Let other people have their chance to add to the list of things that require discussion at this meeting. And when listing your issues and concerns, try to avoid speaking for too long. So now, separately, clarify. So in a really well-ordered meeting where everybody gets their chance to speak, we'll list what people want to talk about, hear what colleagues say, write it down verbatim, and then ask clarifying questions about each of the issues that are being raised. So some issues will split into many, others will add clarity. Try to keep the whole thing visible, and hopefully the slide will come up for you. It hasn't come up for me. So that's kind of interesting. So let's move on from that. So here's an example here with a list and an explanation. So the general rule that seems to work, this is situation appraisal for those of you who are familiar with KT. The general rule is make the list first. When everybody's happy, we've got the full list of stuff that we need to talk about, then go on to clarifying. So we have an exercise for you. This will take just a couple of minutes. If you go to the attachments tab at the bottom and then look for the attachment, which is KT Modules 2 Case Study, have a quick look at that. And as you read, can you send a chat message through to me and the audience, please, and under questions, and say, well, this is what I'm seeing here. This is what I think the issues are, and just write them down as quickly as you can as you start to read that text. And please, one message per issue. Don't make a great big essay out of it. Just as soon as you see something, write it down, send it. See the next thing in the text, write it down, send it. And by the way, those of you who are watching the recorded one, you can also do this. You can try to take that attachment, maybe print it, highlight it, and think about what really are the issues that need to be addressed in this particular example. Yep, good, thank you. Taxis are expensive. Yep, absolutely. What else? Magic question. What else? What else do you see as an issue for the Metaphorus company? Poor public transport links, multiple forms of transport, not segregated. Okay, what else? Late night taxis are expensive. Yeah, what else? Customers often don't show up. Yeah. What else? How to guide drivers to optimize their day. Yeah. 38% of income comes from taxis. Yeah, good. Possible issues for people with disabilities. Good. Well done for raising that. Now, keep on throwing those in, but notice what's happening here. I'm just asking you to make your contribution, and I want to log all those contributions, and I want to value all those contributions, and the same should be true of all meetings. And it will interrupt the flow of good contributions if you stop to clarify. So get the list first, and once you have the list, then clarify each individual item. Some may be duplicates, that's okay. We can merge them later. So that's what we're trying to do. Let's have a look at an example. It's not the same as your examples, it's just something I put together earlier. So in the Metaphorus review meeting, we might have a list that has something like this, and we might have an explanation that looks something like that. But the essential part, as we're doing actually with your comments here, maintaining an equitable balance between consumer and taxi operator. Yeah, you've written that exactly. How did you do that? Amazing. The point is, if it's visible in real time as we talk and as we discuss, as we work together as a team, it's going to be much easier for us to get to a resolution. So in this world of Teams, this world of Zoom, in this world of Slack, in this world of virtual, You know, we're getting used to doing this and throwing our whiteboards up virtually. Let's not lose that when we go back to the office. Make sure that we write up what people are saying and write their contributions down and don't lose them. So, as we get to the end of this session, inevitably there's something for you to do. So in the attachments, you'll see a book chapter. It's chapter 7. It's on situation appraisal, and it's bloody good, and I recommend it to you. If you don't like reading text, then there are some examples there that will appeal to you. But at your next virtual meeting at work, or if you're already out of lockdown, your next real meeting at work, start to practice listing concerns as you hear them, and don't ask anything about them. Don't challenge them, don't comment on them, nothing at all. Just let them flow. And when we get the whole list of comments out, then, and when your colleagues have run out of issues, present the full list back and then invite clarification, taking each issue one by one. And then if you don't finish up on time, do schedule a follow-up. And that's the tip. Separate listing the issues from discussing the issues if you possibly can, and you'll find all your meetings will go much better and much more smoothly. Next Tuesday on the 12th of May, it's all about finding causes and why we want to know the cause. There's more in-depth training there if you want it. And please, many of you have communicated with me over Twitter and directly via email. Let's keep that going and get hold of me here at LinkedIn or at Vermeshandru on Twitter or directly via email, and that's absolutely fine. Love to hear from you and carry on this conversation, and love to hear from you about how you get on with this particular task, separating, making the list of issues from clarifying and discussing the issues. So that's the end for today. Thanks for turning up. We're running slightly over time, but my apologies for that. Enjoy your next cup of tea. See you on Tuesday.